Welcome to the Learners Lounge, the podcast where we help high schoolers connect with college alumni and current students from prestigious universities. Today, we have with us a graduate from the prestigious Yale NUS College who was also accepted to reputed colleges in the UK, like Cambridge and the London School of Economics. So, can you please briefly introduce yourself, including your name, major, and your educational journey?
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Chitvan. I grew up in Mumbai, went to Dhirubhai Ambani, and I moved to Singapore for college, where I went to Yale NUS and majored in economics. I'm currently in New York, where I work in finance at Blackstone.
That's good to hear. So my question to you is, what motivated you to pursue your education in Singapore? What factors influenced your decision?
Definitely. So Singapore is a really well-functioning modern city, and I knew I wanted to do a career in finance, and it's really the financial hub for Southeast Asia. So it was a great fit that way. I'd also visited the city a lot growing up, so I was familiar with it, and there's a diverse mix of people living there. And in terms of location, it was also very relatively close to home. So it was nice to be able to see family frequently. And it also has great weather. There's no strong winters, no snow. It's tropical equatorial climate. So it didn't take any time for me to settle in at all. Didn't feel homesick.
Yeah, I think weather is a really important factor when considering where you want to study for college. So, yeah. Also, how would you describe the academic rigor and the challenges you faced during your time at Yale NUS?
Definitely. So compared to school, most colleges have a very different way of structuring classes, right? So it's not that you go to class and then your teacher or professor lectures you on a topic for a certain amount of time. It's usually based on pre-assigned reading. So you're expected to complete a certain amount of pre-reading before you go to class, have your thoughts and opinions on questions on that piece. And then the class is more of a discussion around that, and the professor will facilitate it rather than lecture at you. And at Yale NUS, the classes were very small. So it was just 18 to 20 people in the room directly with the professors. So it was a very small, closed environment where you really got to hear everybody's thoughts. And we also did not have any teaching assistants. So it was always with the professor, but we did have peer tutors. So that meant that when you had questions or, smaller ways of answering, if you wanted to figure out how to go about a problem, you could always reach out to peers. And that was a very well-structured program and a very friendly environment. And I really enjoyed the range of classes. I did mention I majored in economics, but I was able to take classes on the history of pirates and urban studies and physics of the electric guitar. So a really broad range of choice available for you in your major and outside. And that flexibility was an amazing option to have there. And really, at the end of the day, what you get out of the class really depends on how much you put into it.
Yeah, so I wanted to know what extracurricular activities did you participate in high school, and how has it helped you with your admission in Yale and US?
Definitely. So I'll highlight a couple of them. So I was really focused on writing and building and honing my skills there. So I was part of the student magazine at school. I was very involved in press clubs at MUN conferences, and I also wrote for my own personal blog. So when I was writing my applications, it was quite focused on how I wanted to build my strengths as a writer and how that's really applicable, not just as a creative writing hobby, but even across your regular academic writing and even careers like journalism. Secondly, I was also involved in a few community service projects. One was teaching kids, basic math, English, reading, writing skills. And that again was, I think, an important part of my application.
Yeah, I'm sure essays would have been really amazing since you're such a good writer. Also, did you face any unique challenges or obstacles as a student in such a program, and how do you overcome them?
Definitely. So I think that with college, it's super exciting. There's so much to do. There's so many things for you to get involved in that it's hard to pick and choose. And at some point, you might stretch yourself too thin. You want to like, I want to be in that class. I want to do that extracurricular. So I want to go out with my friends there and just want to do it all. And that's great because that's the first time you really have that level of independence to do everything you want to do. But if you're not careful about it, it can get a bit overwhelming sometimes. So it's really about prioritizing, seeing what you like best, maybe different levels of participating in activities. So, for example, you don't have to be a member of a club. You can just go to their events and enjoy that instead of planning everything. So being selective about what you're doing and really prioritizing what matters to you.
So as you mentioned, there are a lot of things to do in college. So what extracurricular activities or involvement in campus organizations play in your overall experience at the prestigious college?
So I'll highlight two of them, two of my favorite ones. The first was the Women in Business Club, where I was initially the head of one of the subcommittees and then went on to lead the club in my second year. So this club was really focused on enabling women to build networks and build connections in the industry in fields that are traditionally male dominated. So finance, tech, entrepreneurship, and policy. And this was a club that had been started by alumni who came before me. And that was a really inspirational place to be. I hung out with people with like a lot of drive, a lot of ambition to really do what they wanted to do. And that fueled me as well. I made a lot of friends to that club as well. And I will also say that it did give me a starting point to developing my career in finance. And I think that club was a big part about me choosing this career. And really just building my network across the industry, asking small questions, getting exposure, things like we would organize things like coffee chats or fireside chats, and even things like, office visits to a certain company where we were partnered with the HR. So that was a great experience in building your knowledge base, but also really hanging out with like-minded peers. The second one that I was really involved in was called the Mocktant. So that was our satirical student newspaper. And that was a lot of fun. Again, I mentioned I really enjoy writing, so this was a way for me to continue that. And I tell you, the people in that club were hilarious. We would just get into a room every week, laugh for what seemed like laugh for 2 hours, right? Then go home, write your article, and that was the club. It was really enjoyable. It was a really fun place to be.
Yeah, and I think clubs are a really important part of like any college's campus culture as well. So what's the campus culture like at Yale NUS, and are there any particular traditions or events that define the student experience there?
Sure. So I will say that Yale NUS is very unique in that every batch has only 250 students in it, which means that the entire college has only 1,000 students. So it's a very close-knit campus. I know students past, present, and future. And you really, like, if you don't know someone, you have a friend of a friend. You have someone who's in a class with them or in an extracurricular with them or in the sports with them, right? And that really means that you can truly interact with such a diverse mix of students. And by that, I mean 40% of the student body was international. To give you a very highly superficial statistic, my roommates and I, so 6 of us amongst us, we spoke 12 different languages. So you can really imagine the diversity of backgrounds that is in one space together. And I think that defines our campus culture. In terms of unique traditions, we always had our start of sem, end of sem dinner. And given that it was such a young college, I was only the 6th batch to graduate. It was an opportunity for us to create our own traditions, right? So we had a student-led coffee cart. We had concerts at the end of the year where it was fully performed, executed by students, start to finish. And a lot of other small activities here and there that really made it feel like you belonged. It felt like home.
Right. As you mentioned, Yale NUS is a close-knit community, so I'm sure you guys had a lot of opportunities for internships and research programs. So could you please mention some unique opportunities for internships, research, or study abroad programs at Yale NUS? If so, if there are any, so did you participate in any of these experiences?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, all of the above, right? There were a lot of so our Center for International and Professional Experiences, CIPE, they were the department who organized all of these. So they would be in close contact with professors as well as staff and other members outside to organize industry internships. They would offer research positions with professors, and they would also organize the entire study abroad and summer abroad programs as well. One really cool feature, I think, which is unique to Yale NUS, is a program called Week 7. So in the 7th week of your first year of college, you would be split up into a different program. And these programs would be about 10, 12 students in each. And it would be led by a professor in a topic that they chose. So it was a field that they were very close to, very passionate about. And then the entire week, you didn't have classes. You were just with this professor doing activities or learning things about this particular topic. So it was a really intensive program. To give you an example, mine was called Writing About Singaporean Food. So it was across the spectrum of, going to a fishery, going to different factories, seeing the production process, going to a hotel, seeing how it works there, meeting a Singapore historical culinary chef. It was a lot of different things, and I think that program was standout as well. In terms of study abroad, it was also really nice to host exchange students. So I had the privilege of living with 2 exchange students at my time there, and those are some of my closest friends to date.
Yeah, definitely. So for our last question, what advice would you give to any current or aspiring students who are considering attending, a prestigious university like Yale?
Yeah, I would say that, first of all, it's on you to take the initiative. College is very different from school in that way. You don't have teachers or parents telling you what to do. It's really how much initiative you want to take, and you get out of it as much as you put into it. The second thing I would say is that, it sounds a bit cliche, but follow your gut instinct, right? It's attending a college or choosing a college is not just about the ranking. It's a more holistic choice, right? It's going to be your life. Like, you're going to be living there for 3 to 4 years. So it does make a big impact on the decision that you make at the end of the day. So you ideally, you should see yourself enjoying there, having a great time, not just with classes, but even extracurriculars and finding friends, like-minded folks who you can get along with, and then stay friends for life.
Yeah, I think we all really resonate with the point about how, college is not just about rankings, it's also about how you fit in with the place and what kind of culture you actually want to engage with. So yeah, thank you so much for being here with us today and giving us valuable insights on the college application process. I'm sure it was immensely helpful to everyone watching this as well.
And for everyone watching, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram @LearnersNowsJPIs to stay updated on future episodes. Until next time, take care and keep learning.
Thank you for having me.